Okie dokie. So we're in week 3. Just a quick heads up, I've been enabling it, the chapters a week in advance. So if you're wanting to work fast to get ahead and stay up on things, you can. Right now, week 3 and week 4 are enabled. This week we're looking at methods. Does anyone know what a method is? Method is analogous to a function. Does anyone know what a function is? All right. So we're talking about methods and how to create them. And this is really your bread and butter in Java. It's the most basic fundamental piece of coding. We have this week a forum discussion on object-oriented programming. Again, make sure you do your posts by Thursday night. Okay? Everyone has to post by Thursday night. And then respond to 2 other learners by Sunday night. Okay? Very important. You have your Project 1 that's coming up. Okay? And we're going to attempt this a little bit today in class. This is called the NMC Cagman Book Fund. Okay? We'll talk about it later, but this will be your first program that you're going to write in class. And I will do some of it today, and then you're going to have to go out and figure out the rest based on what you've learned so far. So I want to say this, Java is very much like any other language. Who in here speaks more than just English? Okay. What was your first language? Would someone like to tell me?
Korean.
Korean was your first language. So Haley, when you learned English, I'm assuming that's what your second language was.
Yes.
Okay. If you didn't practice it every day, how would it have been for you?
English?
Yes.
I don't think I would get it anyway. I would forget some.
Yeah. You seem very confident right now. Very, very eloquent with your words. Okay. With Java, just like it is with HTML, just like it is with any other programming language, you have to develop fluency. And so the only way you develop fluency is you have to speak it. You have to do it. So there are a number of assignments you have to do each week, and it's designed around that idea of you developing fluency. So the assignments in this class, if you'll notice in Cengage, they have a due date. They're not like they were in the HTML class where you could push them off. You can't do that here. You have to do the assignments on time, otherwise you'll get a 0 for them. The intent behind that is for you to develop fluency. So a lot of the things that we're going to do in class are this idea of you code along with me, because it's important to develop fluency. It's important to kind of understand the basics of the language, the syntax and everything that you have to do. Okay? So again, Cagman, the NMC Cagman Book Fund, this is your first project. You're basically going to output the name of a student, whoever it might be. They input their name using the scanner, right? They type in their name, and then you'll put in their GPA, and based on the GPA, it's going to generate a credit, and by the end, it'll give a final bookstore credit for the NMC bookstore. Does this program exist in real life? No, it doesn't. I made it up, okay? I know you all wish it exists, right? I'm not partial to Cagman. Just I am a little bit. My kids went there, but if you wanted to change it to the NMC Dolphins, or I don't know, whatever high schools you went to. So, but anyways, we'll move on. All right, you got your readings. The reading is not very difficult. We're going to talk about some of it today. And we're going to do that through code. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 programming assignments. Who's already been doing some of them? Yeah, how far ahead of you guys are on them?
I'm already.
You already done?
But I'm just helping my sister.
High five. All right. Okay, great job. I've also added on here the PowerPoint slides and the flashcards. The quizzes, okay, these quizzes right here, they will be reused for your midterm exam. So you have to be just kind of thinking about what these quizzes are about, okay? All right, and then this is a lecture from last year. I'll leave it up because maybe there's content that you want to get at that wasn't in the content this week. All right, let's go ahead and open up IntelliJ. We'll create a new project and we'll call this week 3. Oops, I don't want to do this in this folder. I'm in the process of preparing a course on LinkedIn Learning, and I can't do that in that folder. That would be messy. Okay, so we'll use this folder. All right, so I'm in the CS227. We'll call our project, let's see, week 3 method examples. Okay? And in IntelliJ, when you create a project, it's just creating a folder, okay? It's creating a folder that keeps this information. Please ensure this is not checked, okay? Add sample code, it can be helpful, but if you're new, it can be kind of confusing as well, okay? Don't check this. Corretto 22 or 21, whichever one you have. And then click create. Is everyone with me? Okay, so we've got the project folder is created. In the source, go ahead and right click right here on the source folder, the SRC, that's abbreviation for source. We're going to go to new Java class and we'll just call this method examples. Okay? All right, real quick recap. This is called a access modifier. Okay? Does anyone remember the different types of access modifiers? You could have public, you could have private, very good FJ, you could have protected, and then you also have what's called the default, which is just with nothing. Okay? Public means everybody can see it. Private means nobody can see it. I mean, they can see the class, but they can't use it. Right? Okay, so we've got the class name. You also have different types of classes. You have records, you have enums, you have some other things. Right now, all we're concerned about is class. And then you have the name. Again, notice that the name must match exactly the spelling of the file. Okay, if they don't match, you're going to get an error. Let me show you. IntelliJ catches it right away, right? It says, hey, there's a problem, right? Class method should be, what is it saying? Should be declared in the file name. It's basically saying this doesn't exist, and it has to match. Okay? All right. In IntelliJ, you can use 4 characters for generating a public static void main method. PSVM, right? And then if you hit the tab on your keyboard, magically you get the public static void main method. Okay? Okay. This is a special method. Special method. This method is required to execute the program. Okay? So again, we have the access modifier. We have a special keyword that means static. And static basically means that it can be, this command can be ran without instantiating the class. And I'll give an example in a moment what that means. You have the return type. The return type here is what? And what does that return? Nothing. Returns void, right? And then you have the method name. And inside the parentheses, every method has to have parentheses, okay? This main method you're required to have a string array in the main method. This is required, okay? Now that is because the public static void main method is a special method. And you cannot have two of the same method in a class. Okay? So for example, if I tried to copy this and paste it below, I can't have that. Think about the reason why. We have Hannah and Sunny in our class. And Hannah and Sunny, you guys are precious, okay? But I confuse you sometimes. And you all know that, right? Would it be horrible if they both have the same name? Y'all see the issue, right? It's the same idea with methods. Methods cannot have the same name. Because when an external actor calls the class and the method, there can only be one of that type, right? Just as there is only one Sunny and there is only one Hannah. And you guys confuse me. But that's okay. You're not mad at me, right? All right. All right, so there can only be one. However, let me give you an example of something. I'm going to create a new method. I'm going to call it public. I'm going to make it static. I'm going to call it string. And this is going to be print. And inside we'll have string name. You all go ahead and type this with me. Okay? And we'll actually change name to be F name. And then we'll type comma, string, L name. Okay? And we'll make one other change. We'll change the return type here to void. Okay? We'll just do that. All right. Can everyone pretty much capture what I've got so far? Okay. So, I have my method, and I'm going to use a SOUT, and then tab. System.out.println. Okay? Now, the idea here is I want to take the first name and the last name, and I want to print it out as one name. So I would do F name plus, whoops, I didn't spell it right. It's got to be exact case and everything, right? F name plus, I'm going to put a space in between the names. So I'm going to do double quotes with a space in between, and then another plus symbol, and then L name. Okay, so I have a method called print. It accepts two parameters that are both string, and it's going to print out those two parameters concatenated together. Concatenate is a fancy way of saying put together. Okay? And it returns nothing. All right. So now I'm going to create another method. Whoops. Public, static, void, print. And some of you are like, but Mr. Rogers, you just said you can't have a method that has the exact same name. Well, I did say that. But in this scenario, it's not exact. Can someone tell me why it's not exact?
Oh.
What's different between these two methods? Someone take a chance and guess. What's different between print and print? The names are the same, but there's something different. It's like staring at you, right? It's like, pay attention to me. Don't you see I'm different? Can you tell what's different?
Um, it just printed. It print is just like a name after the parentheses. Like,
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Because from the outside, I don't know what the implementation details are. Okay? If all I can see is main.print, I don't care about how it implements printing. So that doesn't matter per se. Okay? But what does matter is how you call it. Elijah, do you have a brother?
Yes.
What's your brother's name?
Roll.
Raul,
Yeah.
but you both have the same last name.
Yeah.
So, what's your last name?
Rosalita.
All right, so if I said Mr. Rosalita, right? You and Raul would probably both go, huh? But if I said Elijah Rosalita, Raul would probably go, oh, right? So there's something different here. And what's different, guys, is what's in the method signature. Okay? So I can have the same method name as long as the parameters are different. So down here, I could do string f name, string m name, string
Oh,
l name.
okay. I was like, sorry.
Now, do you all kind of get what's happening here?
Yes, like. Oh.
So these two methods, they have the same name, but they're different, right? And this is okay. What's not okay is if I was to take this out. Now this is not okay. And the reason is notice what IntelliJ highlights. It says print string string is already in the method. It's looking at the type of value you pass in. The type of value. So here, string and string are identical. String and string are identical. The parameter names are not, but string and string and string and string are identical. If I add one more parameter, they're not identical anymore. You guys understand? All right. So I've got two methods, public static print. So up here in my main class, I'm going to do a scanner. Okay. Make sure you put the import Java util scanner at the top. If it didn't already, put it up there. And I'm going to call my object. I'm going to call my object input instead of scanner. Equals new scanner. And the scanner requires an input stream. Okay? So I could do, I could do system.in as the input stream. So I have a class name called scanner. I create a variable from that class called input, and I instantiate the input object with the constructor called this constructor here, scanner parenthesis system.in. What that does is it creates this variable literally on the computer's RAM in memory. It takes up a specified location in memory. Now, I've got input, and so I'm going to say system.out println. Please type your first name. I'll type input dot next line, and we'll assign this to a string value called first name. You guys understand so far what we're doing? Then I'm going to do SOUT again because I want to output a message to my user. Please type your middle name. We'll type string middle name equals input dot next line. All right, so input is an object of what type? Scanner, right? Input is a scanner object. And the method on input is called next line. And if in IntelliJ, I'm going to show you something, hover over it, press your command key down on your keyboard, or your control key if you're on a Windows box, and click on it. And it's going to take you to that method in the scanner class. Pretty neat trick, right? Now you can see how they implemented this method. Okay? So it returns, next line returns what? It returns a string. So let's go back to our method example. So we're saying input, next line, assign it to a variable called middle name. All right, let's do one more. Remember, I'm still within the public static void main method right now. Okay, here's my curly brackets. You got to stay within those curly brackets, everybody. Okay. We'll type SOUT again. What do you think I'm going to type? Yeah.
I for that really catch me off guard.
Someone tell me what else I should type here.
String last name.
String last name equals what?
Input dot next line.
Input next line. Okay. Now comes the question. How do we use the method? How do you think we should use it? We created two methods. What do you think we should do? Let me show you something interesting about when you declare a method static. I can type method examples dot, and you'll notice that IntelliJ is automatically picking up the three methods that are available there: main, print, and print. Okay, we don't ever want to call the main method like this, by the way. Okay, that's a reserved call. But we can call this method. So we'll double click on it. And now we need to provide it some parameters. And according to this, we can provide 2 parameters, or we could provide 3 parameters. Because at this point, it doesn't know which method we're going to use yet. So what's the first parameter I should type in? Someone tell me. Okay? And we want to use the variable that we already created up here. See that? Created the variable. It's assigned. Its first name is of type string, and it's supplied by this method input next line. Okay? So we've put in our first variable. We hit comma in our method that we're calling, and we're going to pass in something else. What do you think we should pass in? We could do that, right? All right, so let's go down to our methods here real quick. Just so we know when it's called, we're going to do this. We'll do system out print line. Inside of it, printing out, printing out first and last name. Come down here, system out print line, printing out first, middle, and last name. Okay. At this point, if we run the program, okay? Watch what happens. Please type your first name. Oops, I can't spell. Michael, please type your middle name. Oh boy. Now y'all know my middle name. Last name, Rogers. Printing out first and last name, Michael Rogers. So it has called this method, and inside the method is printed out the label or the header, right? And then it printed out the name. So let's do another call, method examples dot print. Supply first name, middle name, and last name. All right, well, let's run it again. Play it again, Sam. Rerun the method example. Please type your first name. George. Xavier. Lucas. I don't know if that's his middle name. I just made it up. Sounds like it could be his middle name, but I don't know. All right, so you guys see what's happening here, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about a common problem that happens when we write our methods. We got, all of these are strings. So what do you think is going to happen when I do this? Do you think it'll run? Or do you think it'll not run? You guys are scared to answer, aren't you? You're afraid someone's gonna go, stupid. No one's gonna do that, right? You think it'll run or not run? If you think it's gonna run, raise your hand. Okay. If you think it's not gonna run, raise your hand. It's running. It's running, guys. It's running. But notice what it does. So the program runs, but it's an actual bug in the program, right? Okay, you guys understand why it's a bug? Now think about that with the programs maybe you've encountered online, right? Someone can actually make a logic mistake. The program will still run, And you're like, but no, that's not right. And it's possibly just a simple mistake they made in supplying the variable. All right, so here we have a method, print. It is static, it is void, and it has two methods, and we're overloading it. This is called overloading, by the way. Okay, I'm going to put this up here because I'm not sure if it's in your text this week, but this is called overloading, or overloaded. Okay, method overloading, overloaded. You can do this. Now, I want you to, whoops, sorry. I want you to look at this program so far. We have a public static void print. And here we can call it by methods print, methods.print, right? We can also call it, because we're in the same class, and this is only because we're in the same class, we could call it print. You guys understand? So here I could say print again, and I'm going to say yippity doo-dah. We'll change our messages here. Welcome. All right, I run the program again. I can also run it from up here. Again, notice the difference. Here I'm using the class name .print, and I can do that because it's static. If the method was not static, I would not be able to do this. But I'm also in my class, and so I don't necessarily have to give the reference to the class to print it. Okay, so I'm going to run print, and first name, James, last name, middle name, Tiberius, okay, Bond. So I printed out, welcome James Bond, printing first name, middle name, last name, James Tiberius Bond, welcome yippity doo dah. Okay. Any questions so far? Anything that you don't understand? Anything you don't understand? If you don't understand, probably someone else doesn't understand either. So ask your question. Okay? So let's do something else. Let's change this now from static. Take the static out. And I want you to notice what happens. Both of these now are showing that they won't run. In fact, if I click run, it's going to try to compile it, and it's going to give an error message at the first line, at line 15. By the way, in your code, if you want to read the compilation error, notice first of all it's the class name, next is the line number, and then it's the column number. So, it says the error occurred at line 15. Okay, there's line 15. It occurred at column 23, or space 23. And if you look down here, it's 24. There it is. That's where the error is at. So it's mapping it. The compiler runs it, says, hey, can't do it, and gives the error. Okay? All right, so these methods now are not static. So how do we run them? Well, in order to run them, you have to instantiate the class itself. Does anyone know what that means? You have to create it. And I can look on your faces and tell you all are completely lost. You're like, what is he talking about? Notice how I instantiated this class. I created it. Okay? The same pattern used here for creating the input object is the same pattern you'll use for creating a methods example. The difference here is that method example, we don't have a constructor defined. So when we go to create an object of method example, we're going to have to use the default constructor. And the default constructor is just two empty parentheses at the end of the class name. Okay? So here there is this is called the constructor. It's a class level method that creates the object. Okay? All right, so let's figure out how to do this down here. We have to do it within the public static void main method. So we're going to say method examples. I'm going to call it ME for short, equals new method examples. Now I have an object I can use. So I'm going to take this and replace, whoops, what happened? Copy this, I'm going to replace right here, and replace this one, as well as this one here. So I've created inside of the public static void main method, I've created a reference to method examples, and then I call on the object ME. Now I have access to print. Notice what I don't have access to. I don't have access to main anymore. Because main is a static. It can't exist off of an object. It can only exist off the class. And for many of you, you're just going to have to take my word at that and just say, okay, I don't understand what that means, but I'm going to take Mr. Rogers' word on it. Okay? So just accept my word on it for right now, and use it as like one of those foundational things that you're going to have to accept for programming. Okay? And then as you learn more, then you'll begin to understand why. But if I tried to open up the floodgates and expand and just give it to you, some of you are going to look at me and go, I am so lost right now. Okay? So it's just like, phonics. Tell you this has an L sound, a la sound. You're like, well, why? It's like, just trust me, it does, right? It's the same thing here. I just want you to trust me with this. So I have a class called method examples, right? That's the class name. It exists in the method examples file. Inside my class, I call the method example. This becomes the type. Okay? Method example has now become a type. Just like int. Int is a primitive type. So now when we create a class, we create a type. And we tell that type to have certain properties and certain methods. And if the method is static, then we can access the static method simply by calling the method name. Simply by calling the class name. Method examples. Okay, and I'll just say if it's public, static, void, print. Right? Now we can access it just by doing that. Print. If the method name is not static, it's public. These are not permanent markers, are they? That'd be bad, wouldn't it? Public, void, we'll call this something different. We'll say print line. And the only way I can access this method is I first have to create the type as a variable in memory. And that's what we did there. We've created method examples. We created the object called ME. And we've assigned, we said, okay, here is the object we're creating. And then we're left assigning with the new keyword from the constructor. And the constructor says, okay, I'm going to assign all of these details of ME in memory. And believe it or not, right there on the RAM in your computer, if you could pull out an electroscope, you could actually pinpoint and say, oh, here is where ME is stored at right now on the RAM in my computer. Okay? It takes up physical space on your computer when you do that. All right. You guys are still with me, right? Does everyone understand? Okay, this is foundational stuff here. All right, so now we've got method examples, and we've got two ways we can instantiate it. So I'm going to demonstrate here. We could also do public void, public static void print, and we'll just pass in full name, SOUT, full name. Okay? So I've got a print method that's not static. I've got a print method that is static. And I've got a print method that overloads, it overrides that method there. So I can still call me.print I could still do that. I could also do it just like this, because it's static, or I could do it like myth. Oh, thank you. I can do it like that. Okay? All right, fundamental stuff. That's important for about methods. Any questions so far? All right, in these examples here, our return type is void. Okay? But we could have a return type that's not void, that actually has a number in it. So we could say public double, right? Calculate age. No, I'm not doing that. That's too much math in my head. All right, let's just say sum. And I'm going to supply this with an int. Let's change this to int as well. Okay. Int num1, comma int num2, comma, let's just leave it like that. Then we're going to do num1 plus num2, and we're going to return it. Okay? Now this method is not static. So if I'm going to use the sum method, how would I do it? Someone tell me. How would I access the sum method? It's not static, so how would I access it? How would I use it? Right here, tell me what to type. Someone tell me. Some of the examples are right in front of you right now, so tell me what you think I would have to do. What's that? Christian, you look like you're ready to, it's like on the tip of your tongue, but you're afraid. What do you think?
Maybe just method examples like print with the ints or normal.
Say again?
Method examples like print.
Well, if I want to use this one here, how would I use this one? Y'all do me a favor, I'm not going to show you, but on your laptop, I want you to type ME dot. And if you've wrote the code so far, tell me what you see in the drop down.
Oh. I mean that's sum.
Oh, so.
There we go. So what do I type?
I mean that's sum.
Aha. All right. 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay. Let's, let me do this real quick here. I'm going to select these, and then on your keyboard, if you have a Mac, you can do Command \. If you're on Windows, it's Control \, and it will comment it out, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing here, comment it out, and the same thing here, comment it out. All right. Let's run the program with what we've got. And, oh, do I still have a name in there? Oh, I do. All right, kill it. Comment that out as well. There we go. All right, we'll run it again. Oh my goodness, I still have more in there. All right, we'll comment those out. Okay, so we're going to run it again. And the program run and it exited. What happened? Programmatically, think about what happened here. I'm going to do something in my code, and this is going to teach you how to use what's called the debugger. Okay? If you bring your mouse over to the line numbers over here, anywhere there's active code, you'll see it turns red. All you got to do is click it. Okay? And then I'm also going to put, this is called a breakpoint. I'm going to put a breakpoint right here as well. Okay? All right. Right here, there is something that looks like a bug. You see that? So what I want you to do is to click it, and this is using your debugger. Now, we are debugging the program, and it actually is ran, but it's paused, and it's paused on the first breakpoint. And down here we have these little icons. We have step over, step into, step out, and there's some others over here as well, run to cursor and so forth, okay? So right now it's paused right here. And if I hover over the pause piece of code, it's going to give me some details. Over here, because method example has been instantiated, it actually is giving me the reference to where it exists in memory. Okay? So I'm paused on it right now. So I'm going to click step over. I'm on the next breakpoint. If I hover over num1, it gives me the value. If I hover over num2, it gives me the value. If I select the two numbers together and hover, it gives me the sum. It's supposed to give me the sum. Is it not doing it? No, it's not doing it. All right. Why are you doing it? Let's see. All right, so we got these two values. The point is, okay, it is running, but we're not really doing anything with it except adding the two numbers, returning it, and we throw it away. You see? Because MESUM returns something, but we don't do anything with it. And so as soon as I step over this, program's done. It ran, it did everything it's supposed to, but we didn't, it just didn't do anything that we thought was interesting to us, right? So right here on this line, let's do this. With IntelliJ, you can right click on the light bulb, and it'll say introduce local variable, right? So you can do that, and it'll supply a value. Okay? If I click debug again, it's on the method, I step into it, it's right there, I step back, it comes back over here. Now if I hover over sum, what? Yeah. All right, so let's add one more thing to it. We're going to say system out print line sum. We'll debug it again. Step over, back, we're on the print line. If I hover over the sum, now you can see the value. Okay. The reason I'm showing you the debugger is you may be running some code and you're going to be like, it's not working. Why? Well, you can actually use the debugger to debug the code. And you can see what the values are based on where you put your breakpoints. Okay? When you're done debugging, you can just click stop at the top. All right. It's 4:30. You've learned a little bit about the debugger. You've learned about methods. You've learned about static methods. You've learned about passing parameters. Let's take a look at the project. You guys ready? Okay. We're going to start the project together. So, and I think the project is also in this recording, I think. But let's go ahead up here to week 3, project 1. Notice the due date on this is February 22nd, okay, for project 1. We're going to create an application called NMC Cagman Book Fund. So I'm going to copy that, and I recommend you all do this with me. Come up to File on IntelliJ, I'm going to click New, and then Project.
Oh, shoot.
Okay? Make sure your location is in the right spot. You're going to paste in NMC Cagman Book Fund. That's going to be the name of our project. Okay? If you're with me, give me a hoo.
A what?
It's an old army thing.
Oh, okay.
Heard, understood, acknowledged. Yeah. All right, click create. We're gonna say, let's do a new window. So we'll leave the old code open just in case you have questions. All right, again, we're right here, source, right click on it, go to new, select Java class, and if you pasted it in, you should be able to paste it again. NMC Cagman Book Fund. Okay, hit enter. All right, first thing we need to do to make an executable program, we need to put a certain method in there. What's the name of the method? Public static void main method. PSVM and then hit tab. Okay? All right. I'm going to tab back, control tab back to our assignment. Your assignment is to create a class, NMC Cagman Book Fund. When you run the program, it will prompt a student for the following: name, grade point. All right, so we know it's going to prompt us. That means we're going to use what type of thing for prompting? To accept input. What class? It's called, it starts with an S. No. Second letter is a C. Scanner. All right, so we're going to copy this right here as just a comment for myself. I'm going to, whoops, paste that right there. And just do that. Okay, so I have it in front of me. All right, so I need to accept the input for a name, grade point average, year, semester, right? So let's create our first variable, scanner. Our scanner, I'm going to call it input equals new scanner. And what are we going to supply this with? System dot what? System dot in, because the scanner accepts a input stream. And system dot in is an implementation of the input stream. Okay? All right, so we're going to ask for name, grade, point average, year, semester, and all of that. Let's go back to our requirements in the assignment. This means you need to request some information 4 times a semester for only 1 year. Okay. The value should be passed and assigned to variables that you need to create. So 4 times, that means there's 4 years in high school, right? So I need all 4 years in high school. I'm not going to take the name of the person 4 times, am I?
No.
That would be silly. Did you change your name the next year? Right? No. But the grade point average per year might change. Right? The year will be different. And the semester. There's 2 semesters a year. So, we're going to output something like this. Year 1, GPA is 2.5, year 2, 3.2, year 3, 3.8, year 4, 3.9. They got smarter as they went. Okay? So let's think about it. Let's go to our code. System.out.println. Welcome to the NMC Cagman High School Bookstore app. System.out.println. This app will calculate your bookstore credit based on your GPA over the last 4 years. If I run this right now, okay, all it does is print it out, right? That's a good start though. Okay, so first line, system out print line. Please input your full name. Okay, so we know we need to store the name. So we got a couple of ways we could do this. Right now, we're only going to put the values, the variables, inside of this class. Excuse me, this method. We could put the variables out here at the class level. Okay, we could do that. But for right now, we're just going to do it inside. Okay? So we're going to need a string full name equals input dot next line. Okay? So we've got the name. Now we need to get grade point average for year, semester, and so forth. So we're going to have to calculate, right, the 4 years they were there. Have you guys learned about loops yet?
What's those?
You know what a loop is?
Like over and over and over?
Yeah. We're not going to use the loop yet, just yet. But we are going to have to capture all 4 years. So let's do int year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4 equals 0. Int, oops, double year, let's see, GPA 1, GPA 2, GPA 3, GPA 4. You can see I'm creating 4 variables of type int, and I'm automatically assigning them 0. I'm creating 4 variables of type double, and I'm automatically assigning them to 0. Okay? So I've got these values. All right, so now comes the frustrating part, right? Please, oops. Let's be smart about it. Let's think about this. System out print line. Please enter year 1. Let's see, please enter your first year. Example 1994, 1995, or 1996, or 1997. I'm giving my user an example. That's kind of important because sometimes if you don't tell your user what they're going to need to do, they're going to be like, I don't know what they want me to put here, right? So here we're going to say input.next, and because we're expecting what type?
Oh, sorry.
We're expecting an int. So this is going to be year 1. I'm going to copy this because I don't want to type. That's crazy to type that much. Enter your second year. Year 2. Please enter your third year. Year 3. please enter your 4th year. Year 4. Now, if I was someone sitting at this prompt and I was entering this information, I might want to remember that, hey, for 1994, my GPA was this. All right? So now let's prompt them. System out print line. For year plus year 1 what was your GPA? All right, y'all see what I did there? In the prompt, I'm using the variable that they've already supplied, right? So here we'll say input. What is my GPA? What type is it?
3.5.
Not my GPA, but I'm saying the type. Is it int? Is it double? Is it float? Is it string?
Double.
Okay, double. So we have this wonderful thing in the scanner where we can actually get the actual type, right? So here I'm going to assign GPA 1 to that. All right, can you guess what I'm going to do next? Okay? I can't do your homework for you. I'm giving you a good go at this though. All right? So now you got a way of getting your years, getting your GPAs. What's the next part in the assignment? Well, the next part in the assignment is you have to calculate it by a rate. Because there's a rate to this. And where's the rate at? All right, this means Didn't I put this in here? Oh, here it is. Here's the rate. 10 times the student's GPA. You see, it's a $20 credit. So a 2.0, 10 times that would be a $20 credit. So maybe you need a method, public, double, calculate rate. It's going to take an int of GPA. You guys catch what I'm doing? So I've created a method to do this. So then the last thing you need to do, once you calculate the rate, okay? I'm not finishing the code for you here. I need you all to figure this out, okay? The last thing you need to do is learn how to use the print, let's see, Java printf. Okay? Formatted output. There's so many sites that talk about this, but I want you to research on your own how to do this. Okay? Now, what do I mean by formatted output? Well, look at the assignment. See how it's printed out nicely, it's formatted? So it's all like nicely spaced. You're not going to be able to space this yourself. This is where you're going to use the print F. Okay?
Oh, so like when you're using Excel, like each bracket
Yes.
for each progression of each
Yeah.
year. Sorry, I just want to speak too much.
That's okay. So this, I'll let you know, the baildung.com, these guys are great. I use them all the time for more advanced Java stuff. So go out to them. All you got to do is in Google type type Java space print F. Okay, just like this. And they'll talk you through how to use the format. Okay. You've got all of these wonderful little characters in here and what that means and the formatting rules for decimal points, optional modifiers, okay? I want you to try. I want you to try to figure out how to do this. This is Programming 101. My first year, I got hired in a programming job. I got stuck, and my senior developer was sitting right across the desk from me, and he was busily working. And I got up and I said, "Hey, so-and-so, how do I do this?" And he looked at me and he says, "Did you research it?" And I went, "No." He goes, "Well, why don't you research it and then come back and ask me if you have any more questions."
So
That was the best thing he ever did for me, because I learned to go do some reading, to go dig it out. And then if I was really, really stuck, I could say, "Listen, I'm doing this and there's this parameter, I'm missing something. Can you help me?" And then he would look at it, second pair of eyes, right? He was able to help. So this is where I want you to dig it out, okay? Because I know you guys can do it. Everyone can read, right? Yeah, you can read. Otherwise you wouldn't be in this class.
I want to
Alright.
see like what it would look like in the screen, so like it's easier to see
Yeah.
like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just like how. Like
So here's an example of them using the integer formatting, right? Okay, they've got all different types of examples in here. How to format dollar signs, how to do everything. Date formatting, time formatting. You can do it all, okay? So I want you to research that, because your goal is to get it to look like this. You know you can calculate it, you know you can store the variables. All you got to do is get it to print out the way it's supposed to be printed on the screen. Okay, this assignment is due February 22nd.
Is it okay if we can make it like the format look creative?
Look creative.
Yeah.
Or similar
Long as you meet the criteria,
Yeah,
it's formatted nicely.
Yeah.
Okay, it has the data put in there as you see it here. Okay. All right, it is 4:49. Guys, please don't forget to take your quizzes. There is a timeline on these. I've purposely put deadlines on all of the Cengage assignments. So if you miss your deadline, you're going to come to me and go, "Mr. Rogers, can you reopen it?" And I'm going to go, "Why weren't you doing your assignment?" Okay? You have to stay on top of it. All right? I'm not saying that because I hate you. I'm saying that because I know you all sometimes need a little encouragement. All right.
I'm already traumatized.
I'm gonna go full creative mode. Yes.
Does this one has to be marked?
It could be, the goal of it is that it shows a scanner, right? And someone can type in a name. And whatever that name that's been typed in will print out.
So I don't have to do my name.
Doesn't have to be your name. It needs to be dynamic, so that, you know, like today, how I was typing in my name, and then it just printed it out down below. You could have sat here at the desk and typed your name, and it would have printed. It needs to be so that anybody who programs, uses that program, runs it, will take their name and print their information.
Could you send the
The what?
could you send the to